We recently discovered a guy who calls himself Blackie Chan. He fights on Streetbeefs, and he says that he learned how to fight from YouTube, specifically this channel.
Shout out Hard to Hurt. I learned all that from you, man.
I was fascinated by the idea of a person who learned only from YouTube but looked much more skilled and had way more ability than you would expect from someone who says they only learned from YouTube. So I had to meet the guy, so I invited him down to the studio to train, spar, and shoot some video. I didn't have a ton of time with the guy, so I wasn't gonna make big, huge changes. I just noticed a couple things that I wanted to help him with. One was that his punches are very wild. He has a great stance and powerful kicks, but when the punches start flying, he gets a little bit out of control and they're loopy, and I wanted to help him make his punches more straight, direct, and make his boxing a little crisper. Also, being that he's still competing at Streetbeefs and hasn't really run into high-level competition, I wanted to bring him in and let him spar with some professional fighters, amateur fighters. I wanted to spar with him and kind of show him what it would look like, someone that could actually answer back and maybe poke some holes in his defense, because heretofore he was only overwhelming people with like ferocity and no one was blocking, countering, and answering back. So I wanted to focus on those things. I also learned a lot about the man himself. I asked him a lot of questions about him, his training, his background, and I've figured out a couple things that make him very unique. Now I want to reiterate, again, this guy is special. These results are not typical. You can't watch some YouTube videos and be this impressive in your first few fights. You can't spend one weekend training with us and make this big an improvement. What you're about to see is, the word's overused, but it's amazing. It's amazing to see how quickly he absorbs what you're telling him and what you're showing him and then can turn around and execute it. And if you haven't already, make sure you click subscribe. That helps out a lot. It helps me continue to make these videos. Now this first round is with Cliff, and Cliff is a professional MMA fighter. And I'm trying to tell Blackie Chan to move side to side and not get stuck in front of him, because you'll watch every time he stops in front of him, Cliff is gonna snipe him with like a linear style kick or attack. I'm asking for the leg kick, but Blackie Chan probably feels like the guy, he's just too far away. And every time he stops in front of him, and that composure, where you see that, I can see that he's frustrated, and I can see, but not in a bad way, in a like, oh man, this is tough, I need to get better sort of way. He went for a little RKM special. But you see Cliff threw a pretty clean hatchet kick, but pulled it. And I just wanted to move side to side, and look, he finds the range there pretty good. Now he's kind of got it. I want to get aggressive, I want him to throw a leg kick.
Throw the leg kick. Always to the leg kick. End everything with that leg kick. Bingo.
That's his bread and butter.
And go the other side with the leg.
And I actually didn't try to change the way he throws leg kicks at all, because I knew I had limited time with him. I didn't want to mess him up. I started to try to give him cues on some details, and he started kicking weird. And I was like, never mind, forget what I said. His composure and his control is way beyond his experience level.
Side to side, side to side, side to side.
Like typically when people get pressured by a pro fighter for the first sparring round ever, you know, they get a little wild and the pro has to sit him down. But he never threw anything hard, except you'll see him spar with me later. He does throw one thing kind of hard, and rings my bell.
Head up, hands up.
What's really cool to see there in his composure and maturity is him to acknowledge the head kick there. Like, he knows what Cliff did. Like, he gets it. Like, Cliff skims it across the top of his head to show him, like, this could have been bad, you know, get it together. And that Blackie Chan gets that.
There you go. Head up, hands up. Finish with the leg kick. You're good. You're good.
And that spin would have been fine, but just Cliff just beat him to it. Against a lesser man, that would have been something.
Time! Hey, good job, man.
Now that's impressive. Not only is that his first time sparring with a professional fighter, that's his first time sparring. Now he did tell me that he's done a little bit of sparring with his brother, who's had a little bit of training. Now typically, you say, well, what does that mean? It can mean a lot of things, but it usually doesn't mean much. That's no offense to Blackie Chan or his brother. It's just typically unstructured sparring and training outside the gym or outside the watchful eyes of a coach. usually doesn't get a lot of results. But clearly they were doing something right. Blackie Chan has been doing something right in his training, and is watching YouTube videos and sparring with his brother, which I think most people, if you heard that story, like that's how they train, you'd be like, yo, this dude's gonna be a joke. He's gonna get picked apart. But that's not the case. Now you're about to see me and Blackie Chan's first round that we did together. Pressure him, Grace. Now I'm also running this practice, so I'm a little sort of distracted at first because I'm in coaching mode. And I didn't bring Blackie Chan here to compete with him or to like show anything or prove anything to him or for this video. I'm trying to show him that he can't just attack, that he has to be defensively responsible. So I'm counter striking and just showing him that when he comes forward and just only attacks, that he has to have his defense in order as well. So I'm gonna let him do stuff until he makes a mistake and then just touch him one time with a punch or a kick. That's my goal. Now his leg kicks hurt extra, even though we're throwing them light. I'm not as limber as Cliff, so when I pull the head kick and just kind of skim it across their head, I fall over. So he's doing great. He's doing great. And then I'm gonna show him where his hands are dipping. That's the only thing I'm really showing. But the fact that he acknowledges that hit without ego and doesn't get frustrated. Now he's doing great boxing and great angling here. So I'm letting him go, and then he caught me honest with that right hand. So now I want one back, just to show him. That's all that was. I was also trying to hit him in the body a lot to get him tired, because he's put all his guys away early. So I wanted him to kind of feel that pressure and feel being tired and feel like he's clamoring for air. The only other thing I was going to practice today was my left head kick. I did want to get some practice in, and I wanted to practice my left high kick. And I'm trying to get that limbered up so I can start throwing it. His kicks hurt, man. Even those light kicks, they hurt. His shins are the hardest shins I've felt in a long time. That one might have worked a little. I want him to be tired. I don't want to hurt him, but I want to like drag him into deep water, so to speak. I'm getting a little practice in. That's the only thing I'm practicing. I'm just sort of throwing that up there because I want to see if I can do it without, I want to see if I can get head height without telegraphing.
Good job.
And he's probably more tired than he's been in a long time, because so far he hasn't really been tested. His defense hasn't been tested, his gas tank hasn't been tested, and that's what I felt that we could offer him. I wanted his punches coming out straighter, I wanted his guard a little more responsible, and I wanted to like make him have to work for longer than a couple of minutes, because he's been putting guys away really fast in Streetbeefs. Now, we did a lot of other training. We already showed some of these leg kick setups. If you haven't seen that video, I'll link it up there. I wanted him to be able to set up those leg kicks because that's his best weapon. But I didn't want to change him too much. I only had him for a weekend, but the dude is a really, really nice guy. And the reason that he can learn so quickly and learn in the method that he's learned is because he's an extremely analytical person. He works in IT, which was surprising, because I can't imagine an IT guy deciding to go fight in Streetbeefs, but he's just a different type of guy. It takes a different type of person to go fight at Streetbeefs. But he's extremely analytical. He can watch things and we can show him things and he can like get it like that. That's not regular. So this dude has unlimited potential because the rate at which he learns things is nearly superhuman. I'm about to show you the last round that I did with him, and just with some tips and some coaching during the rounds and in between rounds, he becomes much more defensively responsible. He understands keeping his guard in place, and even though he's exhausted, he still hangs in there. And he sparred with Nate, and he sparred with Tyler, and he sparred with everybody else that was there. But this is the last round that he and I did, and he almost knocks me unconscious. Now you're about to see a very, very composed guy. And no, we are not hitting each other hard. But you see, I tagged him once or twice there. I touched him with the jab. I'm telling him, like, put your hands up. Because, I mean, we're sparring, and it's sort of competitive, but my job is to help him improve. And you're going to see a much more mature, controlled version of him now that he's sort of figured out how all this works. See, he's not prioritizing offense now. He's prioritizing defense, but he's still being active and moving forward. And now, remember that moment, because it's going to replay. I'm going to make the same mistake again, and he's going to punish me for it. Maybe on accident, I don't know. We're gonna go with it was on accident. You see his head and my head both moved out of the way on that punch. Now, what's funny is he knew, I asked him later, and he said he knew that I got him there. He gets that we're pulling those and not putting them in there. And now I got him with the right again there, and again there. And he's about to get much more defensively responsible. His guard's gonna be in place. He would have got me with that had he thrown that hard. And look, when I went to answer back, he was already stuffing my hands back. And look, I answer back and he's out of range. I answer back and he blocks. Like he's got it. His guard was in place, and he would have took my head off had he thrown that kick hard. So I go to answer again. He pushes me off balance, and he answers the kicks back. And he's honestly flustering me a little bit because his guard and his head movement and his evasiveness are all in place, even while he's attacking. And that's not. Ooh-wee. Now I'm playing it off, but I'm seeing stars right now. That elbow hit me, I think, right in the neck, in the carotid artery. But I knew that the round was close to an end.
All right, so grab a new partner.
Yeah.
Whoever needs to sit out can sit out. I can go again. Someone wants to go with me.
I can't go again. Now you might be thinking like, oh, that's messed up. He's throwing spinning elbows in light sparring. But I don't think he was. If you go back and watch the rounds again, anytime he gets out of position or gets his foot caught, and even in that round, he spins very quickly to get himself back in positions. And I don't think he was being out of line. I don't think it was intentional. And I didn't want to make a big deal out of it because then, and we still had more training to do, he's gonna like be gun shy because he's gonna feel bad because he's a really nice dude. So if you get tagged or you get rocked or someone does something that's unexpected, it can be tempting to sort of like lose your cool. You know, you have to temper that with what are we doing here? What's the purpose? We're here to learn. You should use your words, you know, like just say like, hey, don't do that. But I don't think there's anything wrong with what he did. I would love to see what you have to say down in the comments below, whether you think he was going into business for himself there or what you think. But another thing is, I think that this guy needs a YouTube channel. I think that he needs to start a YouTube channel. I saw him post on his Instagram, which I'll put down there, that he's thinking about starting a YouTube channel. I strongly urge all of you to go support him. Go follow him on Instagram. When he starts his YouTube channel, go subscribe to it because I think that he's a very interesting dude with very unique perspective and a unique set of skills and limitless potential in both fighting and martial arts, which aren't always the same thing. And lastly, I know that you had a ton of questions about his training, about his fitness, about his martial arts training, like how he learns from YouTube videos. But I want him to answer all those questions. And I want him to do it on his channel if he chooses to start one, because I think that's going to be amazing content. And I think that could help a lot of people who are maybe in a similar situation where they either can't or won't find a place to train. But I do encourage you to strongly consider finding the right gym for you, finding the right martial arts school, because not everybody can do this. This is not normal results. This is not typical. I could not have done this. Nate could not have done this. Cliff could not have done this. And we're all fairly competent martial artists. This is a specific ability to learn, independent. And this would probably, you could probably have this guy learn anything and he would learn it faster than the rest of us would. So I do strongly urge you to get into a school and find a coach and find an instructor. But in the meantime, and between time, you need to go follow Blackie Chan. I'll put links down in the description below.